Beruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Pei Daled Amud Aleph. The last line on the Amud. The Gemara had brought a brisa that says Midras Kli Cheres Tohor. That means to say that a Zov who are to lean or sit or lie upon a Kli Cheres, even if that Kli Cheres is designated for leaning or lying upon or sitting upon, nonetheless it is not metame the Kli Cheres so long as the Zov does not put its hand inside the airspace of the Kli Cheres, it remains Tohor. The Gemara wants to know what is the source for that, to whereby the Gemara brings two psukim with the same principle. One pasuk has to do with a Zov, the other one has to do with a Nida. Just as a Zov and a Nida become purified through the immersion of a mikvah, so too its Mishkav should also be able to become purified in the immersion of a mikvah. And therefore, if it's not able to become purified in the immersion of a mikvah, like Kli Cheres, therefore cannot become Tameh. Ask the Gemara now, Mosiv Rabbi Eloi. Rabbi Eloi asked the following question. Mapitz b'meis minayim. Where do we know that a mat, mapit is a mat made out of reeds, and it's has the same din as pshute kli eitz. It's not doesn't have a receptacle, and therefore it's not a kli that should be makabel tumah if it's made out of reeds, out of eitz. So therefore, why is the pshute kli eitz going to be tameh? He asks, what's the source of that? That when a mace comes in contact with a mapot, he will be able to then metame this mapot. Explains the Gemara with the following kal v'chomer v'dinhu. I'll bring you the kal v'chomer that explains why the mapot can become tameh through the contact with a mace. As follows: Uma pachin ketanim shetohorin bezov tameim b'mace. If small earthenware vessels, cheres, were to come in contact with a zov, they would not become tameh. That means a zov cannot sit on them because they're not made for sitting upon, and therefore they can't become a midras. And the opening of these pachim ketanim are too small to then allow the zov to put its finger or hand inside to metame it, and therefore it's not metame the pachim ketanim yet. They are becoming tameh through the oil hames. So then says the Gemara, mapat shetameh bezov eino din sheyeh tameh b'meis. Therefore, mapat, which becomes tameh with a zav, because when a zav does lie on a mat, that is a mat of reeds, does metamit, then certainly, therefore, the mat should become tameh with the oil hames. So the kal v'chomer is as follows, once again. If pachim ketanim that are earthenware vessels, kli cheres, do not become tameh with a zav, but do become tameh with oil hames, then certainly the mapat that are metameh by a zav certainly should become tameh with the oil hames. Now the Gemara asks its question based on this. Ve'amai, why is this so? Holes le tahara b'mikvah. These mats that are pshute klietz do not have purification in a mikvah. Therefore, since pshute klietz was excluded, it was not included in the pasuk of being able to be immersed in a mikvah. Therefore, if we learned before that which is not able to become purified in mikvah did not also become tameh, so therefore, how could these pshute klietz indeed become Tohor? The Gemara answers, Omar L'Rechanino, he answers, Rabbi Eloi, Shiny Hasom, Hoyo V'ika B'minoi. There it's different in regards to the Pshuto Kli'etz, the Mapats. Because since it's min, it's same type, meaning to say that there's another type of Kli'etz that does have a Kli Kibul, and can, yes, be immersed in a mikvah and become Tohor. Therefore, this is different. And therefore, this also has the property of becoming tameh as well. Omale, so Rabbi Eloi turns back to Rechanina. He says, Rachmana litzlan mehai daita. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu save us from such an opinion. Adarabba. On the contrary, he says, Rav Chanina, Rachmana litzlan medaita didoch. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu save us from your opinion. Ask the Gemara, Taimamai, what is indeed the reasoning, the rationale for Rabbi Chanina? Trei kroi ksiva. There are two psukim that indicate what he's saying to be so. Ksiv, it says in one pasuk, V'ish asher yiga b'mishkav voi, referring to the Zov, that when he comes in contact, he touches his mishkav, his couch, which compares the Zov to the couch, which would imply that just as the Zov requires immersion and can become tahor with that immersion of a mikvah, so too its mishkav can also become tahor in the immersion of a mikvah. That's one pasuk. However, there's another pasuk, v'ksiv v'kol mishkav asher yishkav alov hazov yitma, and any mishkav, any couch that he sits upon, the Zov sits upon, will become tamei. Here it doesn't say mishkavo, it says any couch, kol mishkav. Ha ketzad. How can we rectify and reconcile these two statements? As follows: Yesh b'minoi afagav de lesle tahara b'mitva. There is its min, like a kli eitz, pshutei kli eitz, even though that it's not going to become tar in the mikvah, because its same type, which is a kli eitz that is a kli kibul, can yes be tar in a mikvah, so therefore this can also then become tamei. Ein b'minoi makish mishkav oloi. Whereas the first pasuk refers to the Zav and his couch, that refers to a situation where his couch must be able to then become purified in mikvah, and therefore that doesn't have a min that can be purified in the mikvah, which is referring to a kli cheres, an earthenware vessel. And therefore, indeed, a kli cheres is not able to become metkabel tuma. Rava Omar. Now Rava brings an additional limud where we know a midras kli cheres is tahor, where we know that a midras, a zav, cannot metame a kli cheres if he were to sit upon it. He brings another source. Rava Omar, midras kli cheres tahor mehacha. It's tahor from the following pasuk. The kol kli pasuach, any open vessel. Here is referring to a kli cheres. Asher ein samid posil psil alov, that does not have a cover that is fastened upon it. That's the pasuk. And thereby, if it's an open kli cheres in a, let's say, oil hames, it becomes tamei. The diuk is hayesh samid psil alov tor. But if it is covered, such an earthenware vessel, even in a oil hames, it remains tahor. Milo yaskinan de yichadinu liishtoy nida. Aren't we referring to even a case where a nida, after it was closed and it has a proper covering, whereby it's a kli cheres that a zav sits upon, and still we say over there that indeed he's not able to then mitame the kli cheres that is closed, even though now we say that it would be designated for sitting upon, which typically a zov would make into a midras, and yet over here not. V'kamer achman tahor. So we see indeed another proof, another proof that a kli cheres is tahor by a midras, that a zav cannot then go ahead and sit on a kli cheres and make the kli cheres into a midras, just as we see the nida, which has the same status as a zav, is not mitame the kli cheres. The Gemara now brings a new Mishnah. This Mishnah has to do with kiloim, planting two seeds that are close enough to one another, whereby it's a admixture that the Torah asers, a prohibition from the Torah to then grow two different types of seeds together. Therefore, in order for a person to then grow two seeds, it has to be with a distance. So there's the distance that is considered to be a proper distance for two zroim is 3 tvachim, one from the next in all directions. However, if it's two seeds that are planted that it's enough recognizable that they're far away from each other, not because of the distance, but they're not to do with each other, not growing together. For example, even if you have, let's say, one tefach apart, but you have a mechitza in between them. So you have one seed of a grape vine, and you have on the other side something else being planted, let's say a fig. So that's not going to be an issue of kiloim, because there it's recognizable that there's a separation above the ground, even if indeed they're going to get the same yanika underneath the ground. So says the Mishnah, minayin le'aruga, from where do we know that a garden, shehi shisha al shisha tfachim, that has the space of 6 by 6 tfachim, shezarim besoicha chamisha zironim, that you can actually plant 5 different types of species within that garden, and it's not going to be an issue, an isser of kiloim. Arba al arba ruchois ha'aruga ve'achas be'emtza. The tziyur is that you have on each side of the 4 sides, you have, let's say, we're talking about a square, and on each side of the square, you have 4 seeds that's being planted. You have 1 seed on one side, 1 seed on the other side, and 1 seed on the third side, 1 seed on the fourth side. And there's a space in between the sides and their corners, so that there's enough room between where it's planted and to the end of the row on all 4 sides. And then you have 1 seed planted in the middle. So you have 5 seeds altogether, whereby the one in the middle is going to be a distance of 3 tfachim from each direction. So you can have all 5 seeds being planted with different species within the same garden and not being an issue of kilayim, because in each direction it's clear, it's nicker, it's recognizable that they're not going to be in admixture with the other seed. And the one that is in the middle is a far enough distance where it's not going to be considered an admixture, a problem of kiloim. Where do we know that from? Says the Mishnah. Brings now a posuk shneimar. It says, Ki ke'eretz toitzi tzimcha, the land that will sprout forth its vegetation, its tzmocha, ukigino zeruel tatzmiach, and the garden, their seeds, its seeds will then sprout. The Mishnah makes the observation, Zaroi lo ne'emar ela zeruel. It doesn't say the seed in singular, rather it says the seeds in plural. And therefore, since it sees the seeds in plural, zeruel, in contrast to the ratio, the pasuk that says toitzi tzimcha, which is mashma singular, so then we can count a remez. Zeruel is 2, tatzmiach is another one that's 3. Before that, in the ratio we had ke'eretz toitzi is 1, that's 4, and simcha is 5, giving us a remez to 5 seeds. And therefore, 5 seeds can be planted in a garden that is 6 by 6 tfachim without there being an isser of kiloim.